Welcome to the Ministry Pivot Podcast with Russell St. Bernard, a podcast designed to assist leaders as they seize the season of opportunity by pivoting toward it. Let's get started with today's episode.
Hey family, Reverend Russ back again with another Ministry Pivot. Again, super excited for you all joining and staying connected with us as we're in this culture series. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Join us on Ministry Pivot, follow all the things that we're doing, and really just share some of your comments. I would love to continue to hear from how these sessions are helping, how these sessions are blessing, whether you're watching tonight, this morning, during the day at the gym. I know many of you don't watch, many of you listen, and so that is super encouraging. But again, wanted to look at culture. So the first week, we talked about what is culture. We talked about the fact that we all have a culture. The second week, we talked about how do you create a culture? How do you sustain a culture? And this week, we're going to talk about ways in which to identify culture leaks and culture cracks. So you can listen to any of these separately, but I'd rather if you jump back and listen to the first one, the second one, and get yourself here. They aren't long, so you should be able to knock it out really quickly. This one is not going to be long as well, maybe the shortest of the three. But I wanted to identify and acknowledge that sometimes you can set up the culture the way you want. Sometimes you can aim it correctly. Sometimes you can put the actions in correctly. And sometimes you can also put the acknowledgement and the celebration in correctly. But sometimes things still don't go the way you want them to go. Sometimes there are still some miscommunication. Now, oftentimes this happens with growth. This is not really a part of this series, but I'll say it here. If you are a part of a growing organization, it is super awesome, super great. But there are two things that I need you to acknowledge and to know that as you grow, two things also have to grow with you. As you grow in staff, as you grow in team, as you grow in volume, as you grow in your leaders, whether you are larger or smaller, as you grow, two things also have to grow. The first thing that has to grow is your communication. Your communication across the board of your team has to grow. You're somebody saying, "Well, I'm an entrepreneur by myself. I don't have nobody else but me." But you still have to make sure that you talk to yourself. Yes, I mean that in a funny way, but I mean it in a serious way, that you have to make sure that you are making sure that you're connecting the dots between all of the pieces in a way that makes sense. So if you are the marketing team, if you are the sales team, if you are the inventory team, if you're all those teams, you have to make sure that you talk to yourself to make sure that you are connecting all of the dots in a way that nothing gets dropped. Obviously, if you have a team of people that are working with you, you have to make sure that your communication grows, that you over communicate, because as you grow, one of the things that can get lost, one of the things that can impact and hurt your culture is the fact that your communication is not as strong as it needs to be. And then along with communication, you also have to grow your trust. What do I mean by that? It means that as you grow, there should be less things that you're doing and more things that people on your team are actually getting done for you. And if that's the case, and I always say this, that, and I tell people when I teach in leaders, or I teach leaders, that the less you do, the more you really can do. I've written this in several of my books early on when I primarily did youth ministry, but it still holds true in every instance I walk into, that the less you do, the more you can actually get done. What do I mean by that? I mean, the less you do as a person and you allow your team to get done, that means that somebody else is doing what you used to do. And now you're doing something new. So in essence, you're actually getting more done. But as you do that, the two things that are super important as you're creating this culture, as you're growing, is your communication and your trust. What I mean is that you have to trust the next leader not to do it exactly how you're going to get it done, not to do it exactly how you used to do it, but you have to trust them to simply get the job done, to simply do this so that now it frees up my two hands to do something else. And now as you're working on a project that I used to work on, and I'm working on a new project now as a team, we're getting more done. And that literally brings us to why it's important for us to understand that sometimes in culture, there are culture leaks and there are culture cracks. That even though you can have it again, if you listen to part 2 of this culture series, you heard that you have to aim it, you have to act it, and then you also have to acknowledge it. And sometimes in that wheel, there are culture leaks and there are culture cracks. There's sometimes there are things that don't work the way you want it to work. And again, you have to increase your communication, you have to increase your trust, and sometimes it still happens. So, what do you do? I'm glad you asked. Of course, I'm going to use this word. You have to make sure that you pivot your culture. When you acknowledge a culture leak, when you acknowledge a culture crack, when somebody say, well, Russ, how am I going to acknowledge a culture leak? How am I going to acknowledge a culture crack? Because again, you're evaluating everything. You're evaluating the win so that you can have a winning culture. Again, remember, you cannot just wish it. You cannot just hope it to happen. You have to put some level of structure behind it happening. Let's say that you want to make sure that you have a winning culture within your staff. That means you have a level of evaluating staff. You have a way of evaluating the staff and allowing the staff to evaluate the organization. And if those results come in and they're below an 80% or below a 90 percentile, then you know that there's some leaks inside the culture. But if you don't have a way of evaluating, if you don't have a way of identifying something is wrong when it's wrong, then the tension is you can be far along off before it actually starts to break. And it may be really harder to be able to fix that back. But I tell people all the time is it's like if I am walking toward you, and let's say it's a 100 yard distance. If I have to walk toward you 100 yards and then you tell me to go back, I have to go back the same 100 yards. Now, whether I run it, whether I walk it, whether I crawl that distance, I still have to go back 100 yards. So it's much better if you tell me earlier that I have to turn around. Then you tell me later I have to turn around. It's the same thing in business, the same thing in culture. It is much better if you find out about the leaks earlier. It's much better if you find out about the cracks earlier. That way, you can make sure that you can communicate and you can flip it and pivot in the right way. Well, how do culture leaks and cracks happen? I tell you, it happens when you don't keep your system as tight as you want. So now I told you in part two that you really need to make sure that you have that you are championing the system, and you have co-champions. And sometimes, as we expand, we empower people more, which is great, but we don't give them enough detail, and we also don't give them enough structure. And then they start to make the system a little more loose than you want it to make, and that's how culture leaks and culture cracks happen. I'm not saying that you need to be a micromanager. I am not saying that you need to check on every team huddle, every department huddle, and make sure it's happening exactly the way that you said it. I am saying that you do need to have spaces in which you can evaluate and make sure that the end goal is the one that you want. It's creating the culture in the way that you want it to be. It's creating the culture and the environment for the staff and the employees to love not just what they do, but to love where they are, to love how they're doing it, to love the impact that the organization happens, to love the understanding. One of the things I love about our organization where I serve, thank God again for my Pastor Matthew Watley and our team there at Kingdom Fellowship. One of the things I love about our team and what Pastor Watley has created and what God has allowed to happen inside that org is that we honestly love what we do, and we honestly love who we do it with. And we are excited knowing that because you have all of these leaders who are together, we can actually do more together than we can do separate, and we can be more impactful together than we can separately. But even with that, there still has to be checks and balances and pieces in place that we can make sure we evaluate that staff culture and church culture and community culture is really the way we want it to be. And so I would just encourage you to make sure that if you are looking at your acknowledgement phase and looking at your evaluation phase and you're seeing some leaks, you've got to make sure you pivot those leaks. And what that means is you just run those sections back through. You have to reevaluate the aim and make sure everybody's clear on how on what the win is, and then you have to reevaluate the way in which you put those things into action. That oftentimes is where culture leaks and culture cracks happen, and then you just have to make sure you strengthen the ways in which you are acknowledging and celebrating the win. Because again, as you celebrate it, you are feeding it, and so whatever you feed is really going to win. Whatever you make stronger is really what's going to win in times of battle and times of heat. And so I'm really excited about you all developing and creating your culture, about you all sustaining your culture, and about you all identifying and acknowledging these culture leaks. But I really do think that if you work on and create a strong system of communication, you work on and create a strong system of trust, knowing that as you do more, the team leaders behind you and beside you will actually be able to hold up that standard. Your culture will thrive, your organization will thrive, and you will be able to thrive as well. Again, hopefully this was helpful. Thank you all for getting on to Ministry Pivot. Super excited about what is happening. Looking forward to being engaged with you. Don't forget to get on to ministrypivot.com. Don't forget to get on Ministry Pivot on all of our social media spaces. Don't forget, if you're looking to do leadership development and training, I'm super excited to do that with you. But also don't forget that this is your season of opportunity. All you have to do is pivot. That's right, toward it. God bless.
That's it for today's episode of the Ministry Pivot. We hope you enjoyed listening and gaining some valuable insight. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss out on our future episodes. And if today's show has resonated with you, please leave us a review to help others discover our podcast. For more resources and updates, visit our website at ministrypivot.com. And be sure to join our email list as well as follow us on Instagram at Ministry Pivot. Thanks for joining us today, and we're excited to have you back next time for another insightful episode of Ministry Pivot. Stay connected, keep pivoting. We'll see you soon.